Hello, my dear friends. This is Carrie at HolisticPsychic.com, bringing you another episode of Tarot for the Soul, weekly tarot insights to support our collective journeys in spiritual awakening, healing, and empowerment. I want to start this episode by giving a big shout out to my friends at Soulogy One Studios and Vibrational Empowerment Network here in Sedona. Soulogy One Studios is broadcasting their vlogs from here in Sedona this week at the Vibrational Empowerment Network, and if you haven't seen the interviews that they're doing with Sedona practitioners this week, including me, they did an interview with me yesterday. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. I will include the links of their channels in the description below. All right, let's dive in. We've got lots of interesting astrological aspects supporting our journeys this week, which we're going to interweave into whatever insights are coming through the tarot cards that we're looking at this week. First, before we dive in, I want to remind all of you that this next few days is a very empowering time to give some extra energy and extra boost to whatever intentions you set in motion on the new moon, because we have the full moon happening in just a few days. I'm going to be uploading a video tomorrow that guides us all through a very specific personal ritual or ceremony that we can do that is aligned with the energies around this full moon. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to upload it tomorrow. And then on Thursday, I'm going to be uploading the shamanic empowerment practices for October videos. So we have a really big week lined up. I'm super excited to be sharing all the information with all of you. I love fall. It's a really empowering time. It's my favorite time of year. And we can really harness the energies of fall to catapult ourselves forward in regard to our own growth and expansion. Let's go ahead and get into the cards for this week. This week I'm using, it's actually a deck of oracle cards rather than tarot cards, but this is the deck that I wanted to use last week that I had left at my other session room uptown. So I brought them home so I could work with them this week with all of you. I love this deck. It's called Wisdom of Avalon Oracle Cards. Comes with this pretty substantial booklet here. And then here's the cards, and I love that the cards are lined with this like smooth gold coating. I really love this deck because personally I feel really connected to everything having to do with Avalon and the whole King Arthur Renaissance days. I do have a lot of Scottish Irish in my DNA, and so I do feel really connected to the Celtic shamanism practices, and the Wisdom of Avalon deck is really oriented around European shamanism. So I personally use this deck in my life to look into things on deep transformative levels, shamanically speaking. And this deck was gifted to me by my friend Sean. If you're watching, thank you so much. I ended up loving this deck and I'm using it all the time. So thank you so much for gifting it to me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give the cards a few shuffles as I'm tuning in. And I'm setting the intention that the information that comes through for us today as a collective is supporting the highest good of us all, and that the insights are coming from only the highest sources of energies possible, and that everything is clear and in alignment with the higher paths happening for us all collectively. So we'll see what comes up. I'm going to just let this be like an intuitive flow as far as the type of spread that I'm doing. I'm going to use a foundation of a slight variation of a 5-card spread that I have been using for the past several weeks, but we're going to do a little bit of a different spin on things today. So the first card that we're going to look at is going to be connected to the sacred masculine energies. So let's take a look at what's going on collectively with the sacred masculine this week. And so the sacred masculine represents how we're seeing the world, how we're taking action in the world, things having to do with decisiveness, our direction forward in life, what we're doing, accomplishing, achieving, efforting towards, aligning intentions with. Okay. And I'm going to pick that card now. The owl. Okay, I will show you what the card looks like here. Hopefully you can see it. One thing I love about this deck is that it does include messages from the power animal realm of things. So owl is a lot about wisdom. It's about discernment and perception, because you know how owls can almost like turn their head all the way around and see in a full radius all the way around them. They're nocturnal, and so they come alive at night. They see well in the nighttime. So it's like metaphoric of seeing through darkness, seeing through obscurity, seeing through illusion. So discernment, wisdom is always connected to the owl. As it relates to the sacred masculine, to me, this really speaks a lot about what's going on in the world today. You know, we do have a lot of contrasts and polarization happening. On one hand, we have a bunch of us light workers who are really holding space for the collective awakening that's happening now. We've talked a lot about this on this channel. And then we have the equal opposite propaganda that's, you know, really, the media propagating fear and all of that. So the owl comes in to say, don't buy into the deception, trust your discernment, embody your own sense of alignment with your own inner knowledge, your own silent knowing, and allow that to be what's guiding your actions in life. Now, as we're talking about the sacred masculine, this sort of brings me to a point that I'll make around what's happening. One of the main things that's happening astrologically this week is on October 1st, which is this Thursday, we have the full moon happening in Aries. So Aries is a fire sign, which is a masculine energy. And the Aries energy, it initiates, activates, and alchemizes. And we can really harness this full moon in Aries, one, to give whatever intentions we set in motion for ourselves on the new moon that extra boost of manifestation, because once we get over the full moon, then the energies are dissipating as the moon is waning, and that's the manifestation period. However, with some of the other things that are going on astrologically, which I'll talk more about in a little bit, this full moon is also very conducive to clearing or releasing old emotional wounds, old emotional baggage, old emotional trauma. And so the video that I'm going to upload tomorrow is going to be a specific personal ritual or ceremony that you can do for yourself to clear those things. So as we're relating to the sacred masculine, again, it's harnessing that full moon in Aries energy to alchemize. So the process of shamanic alchemy, shifting lower vibrational energies into higher vibrational energies. So on the challenge end of the spectrum with the Aries energy, it can bring in a little bit of an aggressiveness, but we can harness that energy in the direction of fueling our journey forward, turn it into like an ambition energy, and a determination energy around whatever your ambitions are, and then also around whatever you want to clear on the inner planes, which is going to bring us into the sacred feminine. So let's go ahead and take a look at the card that is guiding us in regard to the sacred feminine. Now, the sacred feminine is all about sensing, feeling, being, allowing. It's harnessing the power of your intuition. It's harnessing the power of your dream time to support your personal development and growth. And that dream time can be our nighttime dreams, but it can also be our daydreams, paying attention to how our daydreams are informing us around what our true desires and ambitions are, and trusting that those things are connected to our inner subconscious sense of meaning and purpose. Let's go ahead and see what message wants to come through the Wisdom of the Avalon Oracle deck today around the sacred feminine. Okay. It's this one. Perfect. The cat. Feline energy. Can you have a more ideal archetypal energy relating to the sacred feminine than feline cat energy? I don't think so. So the cat is about independence. It's also about healthy boundaries. So as we're looking at the energies this week, it's a lot about our own individual path. What obstacles are we clearing out of the way? And what boundaries are we establishing or holding, or what parameters are we holding space for in our lives? So if you've seen some of my other videos where I talk about boundaries, you'll remember that I like to see it more as parameters. To me, the word boundary can lend itself to a feeling of, restriction or putting a wall up or being closed off, and that's not what boundaries are about. Boundaries are around realizing, recalling what your desires, goals, and dreams are, and being accountable and responsible for holding the space necessary for those things to manifest. And so this feline energy, the cat energy, is reminding us that we need to be the ones to hold space that we need in our life in order for our intentions to come into full manifestation, which is connected to this owl energy for the sacred masculine. And again, it's really embodying our inner wisdom, really harnessing and utilizing our gifts for spiritual discernment, and navigating through deception that's happening in the world today, not letting that be a deterrent, calling it for what it is, not allowing it to be a deterrent that's interfering with the trajectory that we are aligning with and creating for ourselves. Okay, let's look at, what might be happening on hidden or subconscious levels collectively this week. Another one of my favorites, the raven. Raven is one of my personal main spirit allies. I really have resonated with the raven energy for a very long time. In fact, the very first time I visited Arizona way before I lived here, I would say this is, I was probably in my young 20s. I visited Arizona from Las Vegas. I went to a trip to Las Vegas and then ended up going to the Grand Canyon. And on that trip at the Grand Canyon, every place I stopped, there would be ravens around me, like really close to me, like to the point where I could almost reach out and touch them. And that was when Raven came into my life. And still to this day, Raven is very much a part of, my ally team, my spirit animal team. So as it's relating to the subconscious or hidden energies that are happening collectively this week, and of course now we're bringing it to the conscious mind, the raven is a lot about synchronistic events. It speaks of the magic and mystery in life. When Raven shows up, to me, it's a signpost that you're in the right place at the right time. and that there's higher realms of meaning that are connected to whatever activities are happening. So this week, I would say, pay attention, especially to whatever synchronistic events are happening for you in your life, and see them as being signposts or indicators that you are in alignment with your highest path and purpose. A good way to gain clear awareness around the synchronicities that happen in your life is pay attention to the underlying theme that they're connected to, and just ask your inner guidance, what is the message here? What's the theme? And how is this theme supporting me in my own evolution? Be aware of that this week. This is a week perhaps where you might experience more synchronicity than usual, and see it as being the universe communicating to you in ways that are guiding you and really honing you into your path, your course even more. Okay, the challenge energies. One thing that I'm going to talk about astrologically with the challenge energies is, so we do have the full moon in Aries, but it's conjunct Chiron. And Chiron is all about our old wounds. It's the wounded healer. This is why I'm going to be sharing the personal ceremony ritual that you can do to clear old wounds. This is specifically because of this full moon Chiron conjunction. So the challenge aspect of this conjunction is that we're all going to feel a little bit moody, a little bit touchy, a little bit vulnerable around our old wounds. But the way that we can harness this energy is utilizing that alchemizing energy of Aries to transmute. The challenge, astrologically speaking, is that later on, over the course of the next few days, you can expect collectively there's going to be a little bit of an air of touchiness, moodiness happening. So that's the challenge. Let's see what the cards have to say about it. Risk. So it's the energy of risk, taking a risk. This is what the card looks like. So asking yourself, in what areas am I being guided to take a leap of faith? In what areas am I being guided to sort of go out on a limb, trust the universe, trust my guidance, bet on myself, believe in myself? In what areas in my life individually am I being asked to take a risk? Now, of course, just the fact that this is even coming up is talking about the fact that collectively we are all being guided in the direction to rise up beyond our comfort zone. And so we all have that going on in our own individual ways. And when we allow ourselves to take that risk, we are individually supporting the collective energy that is rising up in ways that are enabling all of us to shift out of our comfort zones into higher realms of being. Now, the one thing I will say about this energy is when it comes to taking risks, it's not about being reckless. We don't want to be reckless. The risks that we take, let the risks that you take be based on what feels like an inner compelling from your soul wisdom, from your inner guidance. It's not about just throwing caution to the wind and being mindlessly reckless. That's not what we're talking about here. In fact, with the Aries full moon, again, Aries energizes and activates on one level. And so you want to be cognizant or conscious of harnessing that energizing, activating energies with taking leaps of faith that are supporting what your inner enthusiasms are, and resist or be aware of the tendency for the Aries energy to spin into the direction of aggression or recklessness, and just sort of reel it back in. So again, this is, we always have opportunities to practice more mindfulness, which ultimately leads to more awareness. And this is how it's happening this week. And now we're going to talk about the power energy. What is supporting our empowerment collectively this week? Let me see what wants to come up here. The power is in communication. This can be communication with ourselves, telling ourselves the truth about what we really need, how we really feel, what we really desire, and having clear communication with the universe along those lines through how we're aligning our intentions with our feelings and our mindset and our belief. And then, of course, having clear communication with others. We do have some astrology aspects that are connected to communication. We still have Mercury in Scorpio, and we are in the shadow period for Mercury retrograde, which happens this coming week next week. So we'll talk more about that then. Mercury in Scorpio is a time where we can really make some headway around inner self-reflection, around our core wounds. And again, hence, this is why we're going to do the clearing ceremony that I'm uploading tomorrow. And so with this Mercury in Scorpio, as it relates to the power card of communication, be very conscious and aware of the mannerism in which you communicate. And again, avoid poisonous communication, avoid reactionary communication that's based on triggers. That's the awareness to avoid. And then the power card is that the energies that are happening this week give us an opportunity to practice mastering conscious communication. One shamanic teaching that I learned somewhere down the road is that, communicating in ways that you are consciously doing your part to express yourself, not only through your verbal communication, but through your body language, through your facial expressions, how in all ways that you are communicating, allow what you are communicating or how you are communicating to be anchored in ways that will be most likely to produce the results that you're intending for yourself. So we don't want to self-sabotage with volatile, reactionary, triggered styles of communicating. We want to be very cognizant, very conscious, and diligent around clear communication that is results or solution oriented. So that's our power energy for this week. It's all about communication. If each person chose to practice conscious communication, of course, that's going to greatly impact the level of critical mass in the collective that can push us all in the direction of bringing more peace and light into the world. And of course, as light workers, that is one of our primary goals. Let me just take a quick look at some of my other notes that I wrote down around the astrology that's happening. Saturn stations and moves direct today after months of retrograde. So that's a big one. That's really going to support us in feeling like we can get back on track with what feels like a more of a sense of ease and clarity with how we're structuring our lives in regard to our responsibilities, obligations, daily routines, and things of that nature. We're going to start feeling like we can make more progress and more headway after months of feeling like we're just sort of walking through sludge. My sense is that these last few months of the year are really going to support us in making a little bit of a breakthrough after months and months of different forms of setbacks. And it feels like this week is the beginning of that, with this full moon in Aries kicking off the month of October for October 1st. That's going to flavor the energy of the whole month. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the empowerment practices for October video that I'm going to upload in just a few days. So be sure to stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and do that, and make sure that you hit the bell so that you receive the notifications of my most recent uploads. And I want to thank you all so much for your support. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It's really an honor to be connected with all of you here, and I send you all my love, many blessings, and I'm going to see you tomorrow for the soul clearing ceremony, and so I'll see you then. Blessings.